Industries that are hot, sectors set to outperform the market. That's what's here in Zacks Industry Rank Analysis. Charles Rotblood, our senior market analyst at Zacks.com, back with us once again to fill us in on the latest sector on his radar, which happens to be education providers. You've been really talking about them a lot lately in various conversations that we've had. Some positive trends going on there.
Absolutely, and the sector did very well last week at some rallies. In fact, if we look at the Zacks #1 ranked top performers, some of those were education companies. The key driver recently is we had some very bullish earnings out of Apollo Group, out of ITT Education Services. In both cases, they beat estimates handedly. We actually had another company report, too, delivered positive numbers, New Oriental Education. It's a Chinese company. They specialize in China. They specialize in providing education services in China. Okay. I'm not going to focus solely on them simply because since they're in China, it really doesn't apply to the trends we're seeing over here, and it's primarily with Apollo and ITT. In those two cases, we actually saw higher student enrollment, and we also saw higher first-year enrollment, which meant more students are actually going to their schools. And that's important because you can raise revenues by hiking prices, or in this case, raising your tuition rates, or you can actually get more customers in the door, or in this case, students. And we actually saw more students enroll. That's a sign of the economy. These are counter-cyclical companies, as we have talked about before. In this case, people are obviously going back to school. Either they cannot find job opportunities right after high school, or they're realizing they need to actually get a degree or more job skills to make themselves more employable.
So what are let's say, the two main drivers of this group?
I think the two main drivers we're seeing right now really is what we're seeing in the enrollment. The other thing that's notable is despite what we're seeing in the credit crunch, we're not actually seeing a problem in terms of students' ability to get student loans. We talked about this last quarter, and there was a fear because of what you're hearing actually in the public universities about some students having problems getting financial aid. The talk from these schools really is that there's no problem at all. In fact, ITT CEO came out and said that he's not observing any difference, and he doesn't expect the situation to change throughout the year. That's not to say there aren't some issues. We are seeing the bad debt actually rise for both Apollo and ITT, still at very manageable levels, still not at a level where anybody should be concerned. I am pointing it out, though, that is a trend that we are seeing, so it is having some impact. Obviously, given the economy, that's not surprising. But I believe for ITT, the percentage of revenues, bad debt expense equated to is about 4%, so it's not very high at all. And again, it's very manageable for these schools. And in both cases, we actually saw analysts raise their full year 2009 earnings forecast, and that's a very bullish sign anytime you see that.
And enrollment is up for these schools, just in this group, not necessarily the schools here that you're talking about, but schools in this group. And that stands to only get better as the stimulus plan is enacted.
Oh, absolutely. And actually for these two schools, we actually did see student enrollment rise, both for Apollo and for ITT, and that's very key. But you're right, with the stimulus package being passed, that should definitely help. They're eyeing it. Obviously, it's being debated by Congress right now. Hard to say how much Republican support we'll actually have in the House. By the time some people are watching this, we might actually have the answer. But it should definitely help. Obama very much wants to push education. He's looking to expand the Pell Grant program, looking to funnel more aid in general to education services. And that should help both your public universities, your private universities, and also your for-profit education companies, such as the ones we're talking about right now.
Yeah, the one big question mark as that plan takes shape and as it gets closer to being enacted is will these schools in particular be offering the course structure, the course curriculum that people are going to need if they're going to get retrained or to pick up new skills to kind of fit into the new economy?
Oh, absolutely. These are actually accredited schools. They offer traditional bachelor's programs. They also offer various trade programs as well. And I know particularly with ITT, they talked about expanding their course load. University of Phoenix, Apollo University has also been expanding it. And I think it's a very high likelihood that if we see the stimulus package being passed through and they need people with a certain set of skills, particularly trade skills, we'll see several for-profit education companies move into that direction and offer those courses. It just makes complete sense for them to do so.
However, there is always a however. There is one negative, I don't want to say plaguing the group, but impacting the group.
There is. Last month, there was a lawsuit filed against Apollo Group in Arkansas. 3 former University of Phoenix students basically allege that after they dropped out of school, their student loans weren't refunded properly. They are seeking class action status. Right now, we're not lawyers. I cannot say whether there's any merit to the suit. Cannot say whether or not there will be class action status that the suit will emerge to. Mm-hmm. I did sell it from the focus list about 2 weeks ago, and that's on our Zacks Elite website, simply because I felt in this market environment it was better to sell first and ask questions later. Mm-hmm. It's something that investors need to weigh. It's definitely a good trading opportunity based on the numbers right now. This case may turn out to be a non-event. It wasn't mentioned at all in the conference call. However, Apollo Group does have an entire website devoted to legal issues and previous lawsuits. So investors need to take that into consideration and obviously consider their own tolerance for risk.
Okay, duly noted. Do you or does anyone in your household own any of the stocks you mentioned here?
No, I do not.
All right, and you should take note of other facts in this group that Charles brings out in his industry rank analysis for this most current week. You can do that by going to Zacks.com, going right to the home page, scrolling down until you see the headline under Industry Rank Analysis banner. Click on it, it'll take you right to it. I'm Terry Ruffalo along with Charles Rotblood.